Hello and welcome to another anime lore and theory video. I'm Shergok, your host, and today we are going to take a closer look at what the Elves of Overlord thought about Ainz and Mare. But before we're going to take a closer look at any of this, let me quickly thank my Patreons for supporting this channel, as well as say thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function for making one-time donations. And with that said, let's get to the topic at hand. The first three elves of the Elven Kingdom initially had little expectation of Ainz of Aura or Mare, because they didn't even know that the twin guardians existed, nor who Ainz was. To them, the mission into the Great Tomb of Nezarec, which they had been forced into by Ainz, looked like just another death trip, essentially. Azud had used them as canaries and living buff items, tools to be discarded and replaced at will, instead of partners, friends, and teammates. So they only found a small measure of solace in the fact that before their supposed death, Ainz perished before them. And so they could get a little revenge by kicking his body. So they were all the more surprised and overjoyed when Nezarec took them in, and Aura and Mare accepted them as servants. And there were two reasons for this joy, other than the joy of actually having survived. Life in the Great Forest of Ivasha was extremely dangerous. Not a single year went by without at least one village member being killed or severely injured by the beasts of the forest. Hunting and foraging were equally very dangerous, and overall by Elven standards, life was not only harsh, but also short. In contrast, the Great Tomb of Nezarec offered an unmatched level of safety, greater than even in the capital city of the Elven Kingdom, and on top of that, the food supply was much more abundant and by the standards of the New World also very tasty. But there was another factor that these three elves, who had been freed from Ainz's enslavement, considered most important: Aura and Mare's different colored eyes, because heterochromia is considered a sign of royal blood among elves. And whether all elves believe this or whether it's a belief stemming from Dekem Hugem Soli, who also has heterochromia and whose daughter Zeshi Zetsumai simply inherited his trait, is unclear. It may result from mixing player blood with the blood of the New World beings, or it's just a cultural or biological magic thing and trait of all Elven dynasties. We simply don't know because there aren't that many Elven dynasties with kings and queens alive left in the New World. And in the case of Aura and Mare, it was actually a creative design choice by Buku Shagama that both of them have heterochromia and nothing more. But again, the elves that Ainz had bought interpreted this as a mark of royal blood. And to serve such royalty, who also commanded the biggest floor in the Great Tomb of Nezarec, and who ruled the forest with an iron and unchallenged grip over all animal and plant life, was not just a rise from villager to palace servant, but the quality of the ruler whom they are serving had also drastically improved, making the position highly prestigious from the elves' point of view. And therefore, they also didn't want to leave for the Elf Kingdom or return to their village, because life was that much better in the Elven Kingdom. So of course they were very, and I stress this again, very eager to stay at their place, and they had a very positive view of Aura and Mare, an almost motherly view at that. And of course they respected and, again, mostly due to Aura and Mare making sure that they behave in front of Ainz, they also respected and feared Ainz to a certain degree. But again, it's mostly respect and thankfulness for their survival. As for the elves of the Elven Kingdom, they were, to put it mildly, impressed with Aura and with Mare. Not only did Aura appear to repel the attack of a powerful beast, the Ankylor's Lord, though again they didn't know that she had basically sent the beast upon the village itself, but her skill with the bow and her tracking abilities made her invaluable during hunts, easily securing prey, and this made her something of a celebrated hero in mere days, instead of a village guest. And when Ainz, disguised as a half-elf, officially initiated contact to establish trade, the village alchemists and Ainz got along well, and the general population was very interested in what he has to say and what he wants and from where he is. However, internal divisions within the village began to show during the initial contact, because the young elves did most of the work, but were politically controlled by the elders and their council, who clung to the old knowledge, formalities, and to outdated phrases and behaviors, and the younger generation preferred practical survival-related knowledge and leadership. But when contact with Ainz occurred, the younger generation was at a loss, as only the elders seemingly could respond to Ainz formal greetings. But even they were confused, as none of Ainz' greetings were known to them. Still, they pretended to understand to save face. While Ainz was simply glad, they seemed to respond appropriately to his made-up greetings. So despite these underlying tensions, the overall atmosphere was friendly, and the village welcomed the three elves warmly. But not all encounters between elves and the denizens of the Great Tomb of Nazarick were that nice. One elf from the capital city had a less pleasant experience with Ainz, as he was abducted, interrogated, and eliminated to leave no witnesses. As for the Elven King Decem, he believed Ainz and Mare to be his grandchildren, though he couldn't ever recall ever starting or finishing anything with a dark elf. But the man had more lovers than Charlie Sheen and Charlie Harper combined, so to him it was obvious that these powerful children must be his children. And Decem also noticed that Ainz and Mare wore what he called unusual clothing, and he still could identify them clearly. Who is who? Something that many others, including me half the time, failed to do. But this realization that Decem was looking at his supposed grandchildren didn't stop him from, let's call it, voicing his intentions of furthering his bloodline to produce even more offspring with the offspring he already had. Which prompted Ainz, who until then had remained hidden, thanks to the spell Perfect Unknowable, and was buffing himself like crazy, to stop in the middle of it, emerge from his cover, and punch the Elf King to the other side of the room. Deservedly so. And despite his more than just justified anger, Ainz rationality prevailed, thanks to his emotional dampener, and he decided to treat Decem like a Pokémon and capture him, after playing into his arrogance and his feeling of superiority, in order to ensure that he spent all his mana, in order to make it very hard for him to get away. And all of this succeeded, and weren't it for Zeshi Zetsumai's sudden appearance and intervention, then Mare would have not failed to capture him. And fun fact, the Elven King also thought that Ainz and Mare were the ones that had actually summoned Ainz. Zeshi meanwhile sensed something was wrong with Mare, though she couldn't put her finger on it, when she made the fatal mistake of attacking him after crushing Decem like a maggot under her own boot. And she saw him as a danger, and as a formidable opponent, but she didn't realize just how much Mare was holding back. And she was also worried about the company that he would have. And again, Zeshi was justified in thinking so, because Zeshi had two tremendous trump cards, Ein Harrier and the goal of all life is death, and entered the fight with confidence, based on these two trump cards. And as the strongest godkin of the theocracy, she had never fought an opponent on Mare's level, and didn't comprehend the danger he posed. However, based on Decem's wounds, which were caused by Ainz reality/spell, she realized an incredibly powerful enemy had to be nearby, even if she didn't understand just how powerful he was. As for what Zeshi thinks of Ainz beyond this acknowledgement of this one spell that she clearly realized was dangerous, we simply don't know yet, because the interrogation took place off-screen. All we see is the outcome. Ainz summons Albedo to inform her what he has discovered, and Zeshi was basically not mentioned at all, and he was truly enraged during this meeting with Albedo, so much so that Albedo thought that her own plan had been uncovered and her secret plot was unraveled. But he was just furious about the theocracy and now knew who was behind Shelty's attack. And with that said, that's pretty much it what the elves thought about Ainz, Mare and Ainz. Again, Ainz was disguised as the elf half-uncle most of the time. as well as how Zashi and Dickenhugen reacted to the Elves and to Ainz and Mare. And with that said, now it's your turn. What do you think about the video and these reactions? Let me know it down in the comment section. And while you type, I say thank you very much for watching, thanks to all of my Patreons for supporting this channel, and as usual, I say my special thanks to ASK, Bad Guy Ye, Bad Burrito 316, Beezer, Ben C, Brandon S, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Din Pep, Dragonlord Placidus Saxophone, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feralchivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Le Louche Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Loverazor, Merowek, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, O'Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pentum, Personage, Ruru, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Q&A Caracos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Sir Axolotl, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rocket Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Xenokai, and Sonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.